Hello everyone, we are Team Crushing the Meta, and today he is here, Glaceon, to talk with you about the new Altmile deck. Well, Altmile is a very special card to me. Altmile was the very first deck that I built in G, that I started to play with, my very first Vanguard deck at all. And, yeah, Brave was a thing for a while. My profile was also, my character introduction was also on Altmile. And together with Blazing Paladin and Valkyries, I made a list of what we recommend for a Royal Paladin build, or an Altmile build. I'm going to go through that with you all. Because of the Corona thing, we can't do the usual whole series of sitting together and putting cards, so we're going to do it through area instead. And that is why I'm recording this on my own laptop. So, we're going to pick Royal Paladin, and I'm going to start. Well, first off, we'll have Milius as a starter. It's one of the first starters that has that reprint on it that every starter has, that now you get to draw a quick shield if you go second. We picked Milius because he fits the Altmile theme, and that's why I just like him. We put in 4 heal triggers, put in the new one or the old one as you like. I prefer Elaine. Then we're going to put in Bringer of Dreams Melnus. He's one of the new Sentinel crits. Now, they're not quite PGs, but you can only have 4 of them in your deck, and they replace Sentinels. In my opinion, 30k shield should be plenty enough, and I prefer this over draw PGs, especially in a deck like Altmile. So I'm putting 4 of those. Next, we're going full damage the opponent, so I'm putting in 8 more crits, going 12-4. Now, you can, of course, add some draw, and if you don't like the Sentinels or the meta change, just go for draw PGs, add normal draws, but I feel that this is right now the way to go. Next up, we come to the Great Ones, and there's only one very important Great One, which is Cecilius. Cecilius is a reprint of the old Stripe Letters, just like the previous set had, and the other clans in this set. He searches for an Altmile by looking at the top 5, and you can pick a grade 3 from it and discard a card. And if all your counterblasts are face down, he gains 5,000 extra damage, which is consistent with the theme of the deck. The whole Altmile deck is all about having no counterblasts. So we're going to put in 4 of him because we like to search Altmile. Next, this is from Valkis. This was his advice. He came up with this. You put in 4 Knight of the Heroic Sword Lucius. Now, what Lucius does is that he goes into the soul and draws you a card as soon as you write a grade 3. And with this deck, you don't want to keep grade 1s on the back row for a long time. They're going to disappear if played at all. So Lucius makes it so that you can draw more, and you have a bit more of an option to early boost without hindering your field. Finally, we put in 2 Phalanx, because we need another right target. Now, Phalanx and Selim are very similar in the fact that they boost. My preference are that they bounce, rather. My preference for Phalanx, when it attacks, it boosts, costs Soul Blast 1 and return a regard in another column to your hand. And then this unit gets 5,000 to the end of hand. The Soul Blast and that the bounce is part of the cost is what makes me prefer him. His counterpart has a continuous, if you have no face of cards in your damage shown, this unit is going to be charged by opponent's abilities, which is also good. And the other part is that he discards a card and he's not restricted to the same column, he can bounce anything. Depending on your flavor, you can go for either. If you prefer to discard over Soul Blast, Selim is the pick. And if you're gonna need more resist in the future, Selim is even more so to pick. But right now, I feel Phalanx. Alright, now we come to the grade 2s, which are the bread and butter of the deck. The most important cards in the deck, and the ones that need the most explanation, are the grade 2s. So we're gonna start off with Lucius, Liverot. Liverot, when placed on V or R, you can do a counterblast to call a grade 2 from your deck to an open rearguard circle. If you do not have a counterblast to pay, you can do a Soul Blast instead. Now, Leverod is your whole deck builder. He searches whatever you need, he calls it, and then allows you to stack the field with the grade 2s that you want. And the deck is really good at searching these grade 2s. That's the main theme of it. We're going to put in 4 Leverod because he's a perfect right target, and he also is a really good rearguard because of him calling. He's also 10k base, so you don't lose anything out of it. The next most important card we're going to play at 3 copies is Starlight Violinist. Now, Starlight Violinist, when you have no counterblasts, turns all your grade 2s into back row interceptors and boosters, which is incredible. Because of this, you will be able to call the grade 2s that you can search the back row, and he is a big part of the reason you don't have to rely on grade 1s, because you have a grade 2s that can just boost. And later on, when we look at Altmile, you'll see why this is so good. Then we have Suleiman. Well, Suleiman is another Altmile searcher when rode as a Vanguard. He looks at the top 7 and simply calls on Altmile. And with his own attack, he can get it back to your hand, so you can ensure that you ride. I like to run him at 3, some people at 2 or 4. It's all depending on your taste, but I like to put in 3. Now, his other skill is a lot like the booster that we saw earlier when he attacks. Do a Soul Blast and bounce a rearguard, and he gets more power. So, in an instance, you can pick an Altmile or another grade 2. There's options there. Alright, now we get to the more technical cards. You want to put in one of these. Lemurak. Lemurak is a good thing, is you can call him as a booster as soon as you have the Starlight Violinist, and every time you have too many counterblasts, you can use him to reduce those counterblasts, because his skill, if you have 5 or more units, counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 10k to the end of turn. So you can just blast 2 or 3 counterblasts. If you had to take a crit, you don't really have the cards to call or to go through your counterblasts. You can just use them up. You'll only ever need 1, because you can just stack all your counterblasts on one of him, and he's only there for specific situations. But because the deck can search so well, it's very good to have in these tech cards. Now, next up, we have 4 more cards. Now, ideally, you want to put in 2 of him, Deknos. At the beginning of your main phase, this unit gets 5,000 until the end of turn. If you have no face-up cards in your damage shown, counter charge 1, which is really good, because you can call him earlier, and then afterwards, he will every turn be a 15k booster as long as you have Starlight Violinist, and you will always have one of those. You will make sure you always have one of those. Him then countercharging and being a 15k booster is a very good thing. However, currently he is a promo, and we don't know when we're going to get that promo. That is worrisome. But there's also this card. Now, this is something that I came up with, and that both Blazing and Valkyries agreed is a very good pick. This is Sage of Intimate Virtue Theon. If you have 5 or less units, this unit cannot be attacked or cannot attack. Well, that on its own seems bad, but when we realize that it only specifies attack, it means that it can boost. And during your turn, it becomes a 19k booster on its own. And those hit some magical numbers. So we're going to put in 2 of her, but until we can get Deknos, I want to put in 4 of her, because she's an amazing booster. Maybe that number changes in the future. That'll depend on playtesting. Some other good technical options is if you're gonna Soul Blast a lot with your deck, if you're gonna specify on that, you can put in Legal. I really like the art of this card. Currently can't really play her because I don't Soul Blast enough, but with the charges from Lucius, it is possible, and she can become a really big booster or attacker. Blaster Blaze, adding some removal to the deck, adding a very good right target to the deck. It's definitely an option. The deck is not restricted to anything but grade 2s, and Blaster Blade is definitely one of the better grade 2s. So those are my technical options that I can recommend to you. Something else to look at is the 10k, because it'll with Altmile's skill will be a 15k shield, which we'll get to next. So this is what I recommend for grade 2s right now. Finally, we go to the grade 3, and the grade 3 lineup is in our case 4 of Transcendent Knight Altmile and 4 of Sky Knight Divine Altmile. In any case, let's now take a look at the most important cards of the deck and why this deck is so good. Starting with Blue Sky Knight Altmile. Continuous VR skill. During your turn, if you have no face-up cards in your damage on, this unit gets 15k power, so he'll be 28 base. It's pretty big. He has this skill on both V and R, and it's also important. And then his other skill on V, once per turn, counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 2 grade 2s, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So instead of calling, he adds them to your hand, which on its own has its own merits. It can add you some defensive shield in your hand, you don't have to call over other units. When your field is full, he might be sometimes the better option. He just bolsters your hand then and increases your defenses. He is the lesser of the two though, because the other one we're going to take a look at is an amazing card, and reading him will explain why we're so heavy on grade 2s of this deck. So, Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. For those who played in the past, this is based on Altmile's very first strike card, and they kind of kept in theme with him. So, Continuous V skill. If you have no face-up cards in your damage zone, all your grade 2 units get 10k power and 15k shield. Now keep in mind that we made our, at this point, made our grade 2s boosters. Some of them get additional power. So like the Tion card we discussed earlier will be a 29k booster on our own. That's behind the 13k Vanguard, that's 42k. Making it more of a 30k shield just to start to make it a pass. 1 to pass for 35 is a high number. And if your soul has a card with Altmile in its card name, those units get critical +1. So all your grade 2s now get crit +1. And then they hit for these huge numbers. And they have these huge shields. Your whole deck comes alive once this guy is written. Then, once per turn, we do a Counter Blast and a Soul Blast. And we call up to 1 grade 2 each from your deck and drop some to R and shuffle the deck. So you get to pick up 1 grade 2 that died earlier and 1 grade 2 from your deck and call them to R. So unlike his counterpart, it's not in hand, but it gives Altmile a new edge, which is recycling. And this deck can very effectively block and get its counter pieces back. The only thing it has to worry about is Narukami binding the cards, because it can't react to that. But other than that, you have a good matchup against Retire Clans. Now, here I want to point out Blazing Paladin showed us some alternatives. He likes to run... Where is it? That Holy Disaster Dragon in the deck. His reasoning is that if you write Holy Disaster Dragon or call him, you can put the other Altmile from your hand into the soul and immediately go to the second Altmile's full skill, so getting crits onto your rear guards, and in generally it just soul charges, allowing you for more counterblast and soul blast plays. He recommends taking out grade 2s to do so, or maybe the Altmile, but that can reduce consistency, so it's not advised. Another technical card we were looking at as a potential finisher would be Solomon Wiseman Leonard. This is again from Volkys. If you stack enough soul, you can use this to force your opponent to only call Sentinels to the hand. And with all these attacks hitting for at least a crit, it's very hard for the opponent to block these out. However, in the end we decided not to include it in the main build, more of a technical or a personal preference kind of thing. And there you have it. That is the way that we think you should be building the new Altmile deck. Let us know in the comments below what you think. Tell us about cards we've maybe missed. And hit us up on our Discord server. Link will be in the description below. Thank you all, and goodbye.